Now, let us look at MRP logic with an example. Now, in this example, we are looking at a very simple product P made out of two items C1 and C2 with a quantity per set of 2 and 3 each. Each of C1 and C2 requires raw material R1 and R2, again quantity requirement 1 unit per each. So, this is the input as far as bill of material is concerned. Now, let us look at what is the MPS inputs. We are having the market demand for item P as well as item C1 and C2, and we have the market demand required for next 6 periods as shown in the slide. In addition to that, we have other information like lead time to make product P as 1 period, for C1 it is 2 periods, lot size rule for item P is 2 period requirement, and lot size rule for item C1 is a 3 period requirement. Now, items P1, P, C1 and C2 also have on hand inventory available as 15, 90 and 150. There is one more interesting thing happening here. There is something called SR that is shown in the slide, which is scheduled receipts. Item P1 is scheduled to be received in quantity 120 numbers during period 1, that period 1 is shown in parenthesis. Likewise, item C1, a batch of 360 is expected in period 1. So, we have all the inputs. Now, let us see how the MRP logic works in this case. On the slide, we are showing a summary of MRP logic, the 4 steps as net, lot, offset and explode. So, if you look at this table, for component P, we have the gross requirements which are coming as MPS for item P as 50, 75, 90, 100, 35 and 100. Now, this gross requirement is to be netted against the inventory. Now, inventory we have on hand 15, that is end of period 0, and we also have a scheduled receipt of 120. Now, let us look at period 1. Our requirement is 50, we already have on hand 15 and a batch of 120 is coming in period 1. So, together we are going to have 120 plus 15, 135 available. Gross requirement is only 50. So, we will be left with an on hand inventory of 85. So, NR, the net requirement is 0. Now, look at period 2, gross requirement 75, on hand available for period 2 is 85. So, requirement is met and still we are left with on hand inventory of 10. Look at period 3 now, gross requirement 90 and on hand inventory is only 10, which means we are falling short. So, there is a net requirement of 80. Likewise, if you extend this logic further where there is no more scheduled receipts coming in, we see the net requirement for period 4, 5, 6 as 100, 35 and 100. So, by this what we have done is the first step of MRP logic, net. Now, we have to do the lot sizing. We are using a 2 period requirement as a lot size rule for item P. So, beginning in period 3 where is the first non-zero net requirement coming as 80, 2 period requirement, which means 80 plus next number 100 together 180 is the lot size, and that is what we are showing as 180 as a PR, which is a planned receipt. Likewise, next planned receipt is 135. By this stage, we have completed the second step of MRP logic, lot. Now, we are looking at the third step, offset. Lead time for item P is 1 period. So, if a lot of 180 is required in period 3, we have to release that order in period 2, and that is what we are showing with a small arrow, 180 in period 2 against PO, that is planned order release. Likewise, the next planned order release is in period 4, which is 135. By this time, we have actually completed what we can call it as MRP table for component P. Now, what is the next step we have to do? Explode, which means what are all the items required to make this component P, and we have to release orders for those items as well. So, for that we use the bill of material. So, if you look at that product structure given on the left top of the slide, item P requires component C1. So, we take C1 and C1 is quantity per requirement is 2. So, we have to derive the demand for item C1 from the demand for item P, and that is where in period 2, if we have to launch a batch of 180 for component P, equivalent to that component C1, that being 2 per set requirement, we have to release 180 times 2, that is 360. On this we superimpose the gross requirements for item C1 as well, that is 20, 20 for period 1 and 2, 30, 30 for period 3 and 4, 25 for period 5 and 25 for period 6, and that is how we have determined gross requirement for component C1. Rest of the logic would remain just same as what we have done for component P, and it is a good idea that you do this as an exercise and check if you are getting these numbers right or wrong.